My greetings to everyone. In the ongoing series of Art of Being Happy, today we will be talking on interpersonal relationship and happiness, the various theories of interpersonal relationship, it influences how the physical health, the connection between the social connection and resilience, followed by the self-esteem and the self-worth, and also about the intersection of technology and interpersonal relationship. Now let us first talk about the theories of interpersonal relationships. The interpersonal relationship actually refers to a strong association amongst the individuals with the similar taste, aspirations and interest in life. It is essential for the individuals to share a healthy relationship with one another, and not only for a quicker delivery of results, but also for a positive ambience at their surroundings. So let us first talk about the social exchange theory. Social exchange theory is a concept based on the idea that the social behavior is a result of an exchange process. According to this theory, people weigh the potential benefits and the risk of their social relationships. When the risk outweigh the rewards, they will terminate or abandon the relationships. And of course, the purpose of this exchange is to maximize the benefits and minimize the cost. Most relationships are made up of a certain type of give and take, but this does not mean that they are always equal. One of the most basic examples of a social exchange theory is being asked definitely, and if you feel that the benefits of going is more and the cost is less, you will say yes, and conversely, if the cost weighs is less and the benefits are more, you will say yes, and of course vice versa, you will say no. Now, uncertainty reductions theory. Basically, it attempts to explain how the human beings utilize the communication strategies to reduce the uncertainties regarding the other human beings. The theory suggests that the human beings are uncomfortable with uncertainty and seek the means to predict the trajectory of a social interaction. Now, in attempting to reduce that uncertainty, people tend to utilize passive, active and interactive strategies to help predict and explain someone's behavior during an interaction. The uncertainty reduction theory can be applied in any situation because everyday life demonstrates to full of uncertainty in terms of communication. For instance, people take public transport and unconsciously they communicate with the transport carriers and the passengers and never really know how others would think or react. Another example can be that an individual is about to make an appointment, or when the two employees communicate with each other who have never met in the past. The uncertainty can, for this particular reason, be found every day in the human behavior. Now let us talk about the principles of uncertainty reduction theory. The first is your verbal communication. Verbal communication is considered and concerned with a number of words that are exchanged during the initial conversation with the interactants. It is expected that the participants in the conversation, they have a sense of uncertainty when they first meet, but as more words are exchanged, the uncertainty diminishes and the interactants communicate more easily. The second is your non-verbal expressions. The non-verbal expressions are the expressions like hand gestures, the eye contact, and the physical distance between the two people. As stated in the uncertainty reduction theory, The relationship exists between the number of non-verbal expressions and the level of uncertainty. The third is your information seeking. As the level of uncertainty diminishes, the interactants ask more simple questions, and these questions could be demographically related because these are simple questions to answer, but also the questions about one's job position or where one grew up or lives. Now, according to the uncertainty reduction theory, when the level of uncertainty decreases further, the number of questions asked will also be lower. Next is your reciprocity. The reciprocity is concerned with the degree to which the interactants expect another to share the similar information, and if one has a shared something. For example, in the self-disclosure example, if one of the interactants share the personal information as it is then expected than the other person, they also share a similar information. Now, in this particular way, the level of uncertainty will definitely decrease for both and the interaction increases. Based on the uncertainty reduction theory, as the level of uncertainty diminishes, the need to share the personal information decreases because of a higher level of trust. The next is your similarity. The uncertainty reduction theory additionally found that the level of uncertainty also decreases when the interactants share the same interest, and sharing the same interest eliminate the communication barriers and enable the interactants to actually build a relationship. The next is your liking. Liking deals with the emotional aspects of interactants. It is believed that if the participants of a conversation, they have a positive feelings about each other, the level of uncertainty will be lower and the number of conversations increases. According to this particular theory, it is additionally expected that when the interactants share the positive feelings, it is easier for both to understand another. Now let us move on to a very different concept about what is the influence of interpersonal relationships on the physical health. Our happiness and the physical health are significantly impacted by our interpersonal relationships. The numerous studies have demonstrated that those who have supportive social networks typically have a greater overall health and the well-being. Interpersonal ties are very crucial in the relationship between the happiness and the physical health. Our bodies create the hormones like oxytocin and endorphins, which fosters the emotions of happiness and of course relieve the stress. When we sense that the people around us, they care about us, are there for us and understand us, our immune system, cardiovascular health, and even how we perceive the pain are all improved as a result. On the other hand, the loneliness and the social isolation can be actually very bad for your physical health. A reduced immune system, elevated blood pressure, and increased inflammation, they have all been associated to the studies to loneliness. In order to be very happy and healthy, one must devote time and effort to cultivating the interpersonal relationships, in addition to improving our emotional well-being. Developing a close relationships with the others, they also make life healthier and definitely more rewarding. Now, talking about the connection between the social connection and resilience. One key factor in determining the happiness is the relationship between a social connection and resilience. Resilience is the capacity to overcome the hardship and meet life obstacles with a very positive attitude. Building and enhancing the resilience depends heavily on social interactions. We can handle the stress and challenging situations better when we have a support systems of friends, family, or community. By opening up about our challenges, we not only lessen our emotional load but also gain the new insights and coping mechanisms. Our confidence is actually boosted and we are better able to handle the obstacles when we know that there are others who care about us and will support us when the things get rough. Our sense of self-worth and general pleasure are also bolstered by the social ties which provide the validation and a sense of belonging. The negative effects of loneliness and isolation, which are actually felt as a lack of connection to others, are also diminished. Additionally, the social contacts often the chances for a personal development and education. We encounter the fresh perspectives and experiences when interacting with the various people, which actually broadens our knowledge and the resilience toolkit. Now, the emotional support which we receive from our social networks during the difficult times serves as a buffer against the damaging effects of stress on our mental and the physical health. Resilient people consequently frequently have a greater happiness and a more upbeat attitude on the life. So we can say that the social links promote the resilience by offering the emotional support, a feeling of community, and the chances for development. And in turn, this raises the happiness and helps the people to face the life obstacles in a more rewarding and a flexible way. Now let us do another concept. How interpersonal relationship they affect the self-esteem and the self-worth. A person's happiness and well-being are directly influenced by their interpersonal interactions, which have a big impact on their self-worth and self-esteem. Our self-esteem is actually boosted when we are surrounded by individuals who actually love and value us. And of course, a sense of belonging and the personal worthiness are both fostered by being loved and accepted for who we are. And it not only encourages us, but the encouraging feedback helps the people to also develop a better sense of themselves, which raises their levels of pleasure, happiness, and the life satisfaction, which is definitely very good. On the other hand, if we see the unhealthy or a poisonous relationships can actually degrade one's sense of value and the self-esteem. Feeling of inadequacy, sadness might result from receiving a constant criticism or invalidation from others. The people who are in such situations may develop a self-doubt and begin to doubt their worth, which would be very detrimental to their general well-being. Building the self-esteem requires developing the healthy interpersonal interactions, engaging with the positive role models enable us to build a more positive self-concept and overcome the basic obstacles which we feel in our lives and more resilience and confidence. So we can say a strong sense of self-worth, and that comes from having the good interactions with the others. They actually make a substantially contribution to our happiness and the mental health. Now let us move on and explore the interaction and the intersection of the technology and interpersonal relationships. The technology interaction with the human interactions affect the happiness in both positive and the negative ways. Positively, the technology has made communication simpler and quicker while eradicating the time and the space obstacles. People may communicate with the friends and the family even when they are on the different countries, thanks to the social media platform and texting apps like WhatsApp, by encouraging a sense of belonging and minimizing the feeling of loneliness. This has actually improved the connectivity and also fostered and supporting the happiness levels. Additionally, when you talk about the new avenues to connect and build the connections which have been made possible by the technology, people can now connect with the potential partners or like-minded people they might not have otherwise encountered on the social networking and the dating sites, which may result in satisfying the relationship and more satisfaction. On the other hand, an excessive reliance on technology can be detrimental for both happiness and the human relationships. Overuse of screen and the social media, it may cause a sense of alienation from reality and lower the effectiveness of in-person relationships. This actually might lessen the overall enjoyment by causing the emotions of loneliness and the social anxiety. Additionally, the continual comparison and the quest for approval on the social media can actually lead to the feelings of inadequacy and low self-esteem, which negatively impacts the happiness. Now, finding a good balance is essential for maximizing the technology potential to improve the happiness and interpersonal relationships. It can be advantageous to use the technology to preserve the relationships, meet the new people, and also improve the communication. However, in order to cultivate a deeper and more fulfilling connections that actually ultimately lead to the increased pleasure and the well-being, it is very crucial to be aware of its potential drawbacks and emphasize a meaningful in-person encounters. Let us explore now the cultural and the gender differences in interpersonal communication. Interpersonal communication is greatly influenced by the cultural and the gender differences, and this has actually a variety of effects on the happiness. Communication methods, the social norms, and the cultural differences can actually cause a misunderstanding and misinterpretations. For instance, the direct communication may be viewed as impolite in some cultures. It is admired for its sincerity in the other cultures. And these characteristics might make it very difficult to start and keep the relationships, which can negatively impact the happiness by producing the dissatisfaction or feelings of loneliness. Similarly, the gendered expectations and the role influences how people communicate. Men and women, they may communicate in different ways. Men are frequently urged to be more assertive, while women are urged to be more nurturing. By preventing real and sincere interactions, these gendered communication patterns, they might result in misunderstanding or the reinforcement of the stereotypes, which has an effect on the happiness. So, communication gaps due to the culture and gender can actually also strengthen the bonds between the people and increase the pleasure. The better capacity for empathy and respect for the other people can be attained by embracing diversity, by embracing variety, and comprehending the various communication conventions. So we can say that understanding and negotiating the gender and the cultural variations in the interpersonal communication can be actually very challenging, but it also presents an opportunity to forge more solid and the sympathetic bonds. Now coming on to the disparities. These particular disparities can ultimately lead to more pleasure and the well-being in the varied societies by encouraging understanding and, of course, the most important, open-mindedness. Let us now talk on the tips for nurturing and the strengthening of the interpersonal relationships. The fostering pleasure and the well-being, it requires the nurturing and enhancing the interpersonal connections. Now we will be talking on some good ideas to strengthen and keep lasting the relationship with the others. The first is your active listening. When conversing with the people, listen very carefully, as this builds the trust, empathy, and strengthens the link. Express the genuine interest in their thoughts and the feelings. The second is effective communication. Communicate in a very honest way, courteous manner, and open manner. Clear communications of your ideas and emotions is encouraged, as is being open to the viewpoint of the others. The third is spend the quality time together. The scheduled time specifically for intergenerational activities and the dialogue. Spending quality time together fosters the bond and forges the treasured memories. The next is your express the gratitude. Say thank you and I appreciate you to the individuals in your life. Recognizing their efforts and contributions, it encourages the positivity and improves the relationships. You need to be supportive. Provide your loved ones with the emotional support and be there for them at happy and the difficult times. The relationship's reliability and the trust are strengthened by this particular assistance. The next is your constructively resolve the conflicts. Definitely, every relationship has some kind of conflicts, and it is very important to resolve them. The disagreements arise very naturally in all types of relationships. Respectfully address them and try to find the solutions rather than actually playing a blame game, which is definitely a part of life and as a part of interpersonal communication, that we try to shift the blame from one person to another person. The next is your respect the boundaries. We need to recognize and respect the other's boundaries to make everyone feel at ease and appreciated in the connection. Put yourself in others' people position and show compassion by comprehending their feelings and experiences. A sense of comprehension and connection is fostered by compassion. Take part in activities you and your loved ones enjoy. The shared interests help people become very closer and feel more united. So take a part in these activities and you loved ones both find enjoyable. So you can increase the happiness and create a network of support and joy in your life by devoting the time and energy to foster the interpersonal relationship using these particular attention. So remember that developing and sustaining the great interpersonal relationships takes time and effort. You may establish a supporting network, bring enormous value to your life and lives of others around you by spending time and attention into your relationships. Thank you very much.